This week on the Dry Bar Comedy Podcast.
Were you in a foreign country in the last 3 months that you could just be like, no?
If everyone started doing this, society might break down.
I think I'm the bad guy of that story.
I have a perfect role for you.
Yeah, you find that you're typecast for the worst person in history. Yeah.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Dry Bar Comedy Podcast, the only podcast where you get to hang out with your favorite dry bar comedians, get to know them, and have some fun along the way. I'm one of your hosts, Jordan Macon, and I'm joined by...
Taylor Nielsen, the other co-host.
The other co-host.
That's how I'm known.
Typically how the word co at the beginning.
Should I just cut out my name and call myself the other co-host?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we know who the main host is. No. But today we have a very special guest, one of the Dry Bar favorites, I would say. And to introduce them, we're going to watch a clip from the special, and then we'll bring them into the show. So how about we roll the tape?
Let's do it.
The most selfish thing that a human being can do is leave an empty shopping cart in a parking space. Yeah, if you've done that, shame on you. You're telling me you can meander 2.5 miles inside Costco, and the moment you get to your vehicle, you're like, not another step. Timed out my physical endurance down to this moment. Can't push it 20 feet. Help everyone else out. That's why I don't even care. You guys can try this too. Every time I'm inside a grocery store, I take someone else's cart. Do it, full of food, take it. It is so much faster. And you get to try new things. Do it. It's not wrong. Tell me how that's wrong. It's not stealing. What could they possibly even say to you? Excuse me, I gathered that. Just say thanks and they can regather. You know the route. And that's how I found out that I like hummus. You know what else is not stealing? Putting an extra bike lock on a stranger's bike. It's insane that bike locks are legal, that they're just available to the public. You have any idea the amount of power that you wield with your imagination in a bike lock? There's so many things. Like, you could just walk past a Baskin Robbins and be like, you're closed. There
we go.
All right.
It's always fun to watch your own clips with people, isn't it?
Never. Especially when like 5 years have gone by and I now look like a before and after picture.
Well, that brings us to our first guest. I'm going to do a nice little intro for you. Hopefully. It's nice. Okay, guys. Well, you saw him on that clip. Let's give it up for the hilarious Dry Bar comedian who brought hundreds of millions of views to Dry Bar through his clip about bike locks and his special Composed. He's been on Conan, Jimmy Kimmel. Please welcome Kellen Erskine.
Thanks for being here, Kellen.
Hey, guys.
Where's the studio applause?
I don't know.
I thought it was queued up.
The studio's so small. How we got? Oh, we got I don't know if you can see the producers clapping for you.
Oh, thanks.
Right now.
Oh, nice.
It's soundproofed over there, so we can't hear it. But.
We got a thumbs up, too. Well, thanks for being here. Out of the clip, I just have to... Kellen and I were doing shows together. You weren't there, but Kellen and I were doing shows together in Tampa once. But you were telling me the cart one especially, there were a bunch of mothers that were angry at you for saying that you shouldn't leave carts in stalls.
It's back when I used to read comments. There would be a pretty consistent... The two negative ones would be... the biggest one was angry parents who... saw the clip and had to type in something like, I can't return the cart. I put my kids in the car. I don't want to abandon them. And I spent way too many times typing in like, I mean, just how'd you get the cart in the first place? Just do it backwards, right? Like there's no there's no rule that said you had to put your kids in, right? That to me, that's the selfish idea. You can put the food in the car, then take your kids with you to return it and teach them how not to be you. That's sort of my take on that. But yeah, it is wild how much. And then there were other people who were like, well, if I start putting the cart back, then the kid whose job it is will lose his job. And it's like, really? That's why you do that? Do you also mysteriously, murder people to keep detectives employed? I hate that attitude of like, well, it's keeping jobs going. Like, no, your car was just right there. So,
as someone who worked at a grocery store for a little while.
There you go.
And
what's the term for a cart gatherer?
Cart specialist. Yeah,
artist.
I really lobbied for that way of phrasing it.
Well, what's neat about it too, though, is that on the flip side, there have been so many people. It still happens if I do that joke at a show. People come up to me afterwards and they say, "I put the cart back now because of you."
Whoa.
Or like, I hear you in my head if I don't put the cart back. So like, unintentionally, I've become like this little angel on people's shoulders.
That's a strong lesson in that shame does work.
Right.
That's what I take away.
Cloaked in humor.
Yeah, if it's funny enough.
You can guilt people into choosing what's right.
Amazing. And on behalf of the grocery cart using community, I want to thank you. For what you've done.
You've made a positive change in the world.
Isn't it the worst though? Like when you pull, and I'm not doing a bit here, like those moments, I think the thing that sparked it for me was actually pulling into when you're looking for a space and it's Christmas Eve and you finally see a gap and you pull in and it's a shopping cart and you're like, I can't stop my car. Move this cart into and then pull it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's that moment of, That's really hostile when people are like, I'm just going to do 2 little wheels up on it. Still taking up the space like it's a motorcycle. Yeah.
And now it's even harder for the person gathering it to take it off the half sidewalk in the gravel.
Man.
That's really funny.
There's that too. And then there's like when there's just some kind of ooze in the shopping cart. You ever run into that? Like in the basket area, there's just some kind of unidentified liquid in there.
I noticed that during COVID, when I was waiting in line to get in a Costco for 2 hours, that's what they were actually doing for the first time ever. It was like power washing, and then there was a second spray, like a sanitary spray. And I was like, yeah, why has this not been happening?
Right.
Where was this?
And now why are we not doing that anymore? Isn't that crazy how COVID's over and people are like, finally, don't have to wash my hands ever again. Glad that's done. Yeah.
I remember watching people make food with the mask on. I'm like, yeah, that makes total sense. But now it's just like, no, let's just breathe over everything again.
Yeah, I mean, but how are you supposed to say yes, chef, and communicate in the kitchen,
at the subway,
in a high-pressure kitchen if you got a mask on?
Can't hear the mask.
Well, that I love those. I love those bits because they're hilarious. One, but also give me practical ideas of how I can prank people and cause chaos in my community. The bike lock one, especially. Has that been put into application by you? Have you?
No, never actually done it. Okay. Yeah, and to me it was more, and I apologize to society, because I have seen clips since then, or like people will play the clip, and then somebody actually locked up a church one time, and I was like, that's not what I was going for. Mine was more going, like the subtext was barely going after corporate America, and people are like, yeah, same thing, churches, like, well, no.
Baskin Robbins.
Well, the idea came from, it's not so much like I'm not that mischievous externally, but it was more just like I was in a Home Depot, and the seed of the idea came when I was walking around going, we have gun laws, but like this whole store is full of weapons. Am I the first to think this? Right? That there's like axes just on shelves that you could take off. This is a nice sharp one, and like walk up to the self-checkout with an axe, you know? And so with it started out the first couple of times I told it was, did you know that you could take a padlock and a chain and just lock up any business. And nobody laughed, but it was more that, oh, that's true, which is not exactly the reaction that you want. But at least I was like, I know that I'm like, it's landing. The idea itself is resonating. So if I could just make it funny, and so it's just some tweaks of making it a more concrete image, less abstract, like being specific about the business. Baskin Robbins to me is just a fun word, and then bike lock, is so much more succinct than padlock and a chain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the funny thing to me is that I hardly do any act outs, and not that I'm just not like a physical comedic person in real life, so it would look very contrived if I tried. And what's crazy is that like I write and I rewrite and I rewrite. I love the editing process and like writing out jokes. And the fact that joke, it got double the laughs once I incorporated the little "you're closed" swoosh with my hand. Yeah. For some reason, like that made it hit that much harder. And I was like angry that worked.
You have to move. I do this
what am I, Jim Carrey?
I'm going to break a sweat now in a show.
Yeah, exactly. I think it shows how swiftly it can be done. That's what the hand movement does to me.
But to answer your point, on another level, these are never pranks that I worked out, but what I like to do with a lot of my bits is I love observational comedy. I love to find things that nobody has talked about yet. But then adding on to it, not just like, hey, have you ever noticed this thing, which is very, Brian Regan in a sense and Jerry Seinfeld, which they're both great. But I also like to add sort of like, have you ever noticed this? But did you know you could also do this with it? And that's sort of how that started, with a bike lock joke. So it's more just me fantasizing about doing crazy stuff, but really I'm just writing it all down. Hoping no one sees.
You're the idea man.
Yeah.
And then you leave it to the miscreants of society to act.
Well, I mean, that makes me sound like Charles Manson.
I do like that you have this bit that's caused so much good with the carts. And then also it's like the yin and yang of your comedy, Kellen. It's these two sides. You can't be all good or all bad. There has to be some chaos there.
Yeah.
That one, the grocery cart one, there were so many people that came up to me that I got to the point where I was like, I should always include a joke in my set that promotes good. And I tried for a long time to work out a bit about donating blood. But I think just blood is such sort of a visceral kind of graphic, and a lot of my audience did not come to hear about that.
And then you got the act outs of that don't work so well.
Yeah, that's maybe why it didn't work. You needed the act out.
People are just fainting in the crowd, changing the world.
Can you tell us the premise of it?
Oh yeah.
I mean, the idea, it was more just based on the, observations of going there. And the questionnaire that they ask you, it's, have you ever donated blood? They ask you like 50 different things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I mean, are you just trusting people?
All right.
Like, this all
isn't
the
a proctored
blood
test.
Yeah, the people in the hospital, the blood people are receiving is all like on the honor system.
Yeah.
Like, for sure you guys are testing this. So like, and that's like half the process. It takes so long. So my thought is like, just let everyone donate blood and then like filter through it later, right? But meanwhile, why are you making something that is already difficult for me now even more tedious,
Yeah.
And adding in this factor of blind trust of the random people that want to cook you out of it.
Because what happens if you're like, because they'll ask questions like, were you in a foreign country in the last 3 months? And you could just be like, no.
It's like when you take like a personality quiz or something online, or like, which Disney prince are you? Not that I've taken that quiz ever.
But who'd you
but
get?
It's like Jafar, which I don't even know that was an option. But
That's not even an option of the princes. That's just
but I'm answering it as if I want to be Prince Eric when I'm Jafar deep down.
My question on those I always get is like, did you take Tylenol yesterday? And I'm like, I'll take Tylenol if I just think I'm going to get a headache. So I'm always trying to think, I probably did.
And also if that's question 46 out of 50, it's like, Oh, I've already
For
gone through
sure.
45 questions. Am I not going to lie just so that I can finish
That's a
this
good
process?
point. Yeah, there's like that sunk cost mentality when you get to the end of like, yes, where are the free Oreos?
Right. I tried was it during COVID? Well, times were really tough for me financially, and I went to go donate plasma. Well, not donate, but exchange my fluids for money, I guess. Right? And
That's not my favorite way of putting it.
I don't even know what plasma is. Right? I don't even know.
I don't get it either.
But yeah, I got in. I did the long questionnaire. Got in there, sat down. They marked my arm where they're going to putting it in, and then as she's getting the needle ready, I'm like, "So how does the payment process go?" And she's like, "This is Red Cross. We don't pay you to do plasma. This is just..." And I got up and left. So I think I'm the bad guy of that story, but
That's why you got Jafar.
yeah. That was one of the questions.
You're like, I'm not just meat.
Yeah.
I did the whole thing. We're just talking about plasma this episode, Kellen. I did the whole thing where it was the payment one, and you have to go get a physical. This was back when I was a college student. I just wanted any money I could get. Mm-hmm. I did the physical. Then I go into my first plasma thing. I'm like, all right, this will be sweet. I'll make $50 a week or whatever. People can make some money doing it. Mm. And they spent 45 minutes trying to find my vein.
No.
And I just have really deep veins.
Ugh.
And finally, they got in there, and it was just the smallest trickle of blood. And the guy was like, are you alive? What's happening right now? And he did it, and he's like, I don't think we can ever have you back. And but he's like, but you can still get paid for this one. I'm like,
where was
thank
this?
you. I think it was in Pro. It was probably right around Dry Bar.
Okay,
Provo
so it was,
somewhere.
but it wasn't a.
So they
Red
gave you
Cross
$50 just for the effort?
Because they didn't give
Hey,
even a
thanks
full
for
vial.
trying,
Yeah, like, and they give you like a whole credit card that's like they throw the money onto. So I used it, bought lunch twice, and then all right, well that was a day.
That's amazing. I like that this started with Kellen saying how people don't like talking about blood or think blood is funny, and then we launch into half an hour of blood-related stories. That's amazing.
We're gonna make it. So you were saying that so many people do the lip sync function with that bike thing. So tell us a little bit about the ramifications.
Yeah,
of that.
the bike lock bit, especially when sort of viral, I guess you could say, but not in like the best sense for me because of like the trend that I hope will soon die of influencers on TikTok and Instagram lip syncing comedians jokes.
Is it still happening a lot?
I don't. Hopefully, it's dwindling. Like I haven't paid attention for a while. But can you imagine? It's just so bizarre to me that it was ever even accepted. Can you imagine if, like, right when YouTube came out, if some random guy had just lip synced like 8 minutes of Jerry Seinfeld, we would be like, "Who is this psychopath who thinks they're funny?" But now it's all over the place, and people comment on these things like, "You're hilarious" to these people that are like just puppeting. And so so now I get because my bike lock bit went, the audio, people could just take it and use it. I still get people DMing me now saying, "You stole this bit." And they will send a video of some guy like eating chow mein in his kitchen and doing the bike lock bit.
Yeah.
With the crowd laughter.
It's literally taken from Dry Bar.
His whole complex was laughing at it, apparently.
It's amazing. It doesn't even sound like he's eating chow mein while he's doing this. He's so talented.
And the implication there is that you're scouring influencers to steal jokes from. Can you imagine a more tedious, terrible thing?
And then they don't even credit me in any of them. Like, you could at least do that, and they won't even do that. Yeah. They'll just put something in the caption as if they wrote it, like, "Have you ever noticed this about bike locks?" I'm like, yes, I have.
In fact, I helped you notice it.
That's amazing. Jeez.
Wow. That's wild. Yeah, I feel like one of the issues I have with it too is that, and me more so than you, that comedians, we have to overcome our looks sometimes to be funny, and now these really hot people taking our funny words. They already get being hot.
We got the jawlines and chins of the world.
Not the chow mein guy, probably, but unless he was like a bodybuilder chow mein guy.
Chow mein
I'm
guy.
a chow mein.
Honestly, chow mein guy sounds pretty awesome.
He's like a funny guy.
No offense, Kellen, but he sounds pretty awesome. So you do all these bits, but you say you're not a necessarily mischievous person.
No, not at all.
So that wasn't you weren't an impish lad back in your younger days.
No.
causing trouble.
I just like clever jokes, clever stories, and like being able to tell a joke or share an idea where someone is like, I never thought of that before. To me, it's like an extra little reward that you can get, from a joke. Yeah.
Yeah, because for your first dry bar special, watching it, it's like he's spreading a lot of chaos, and I love it. Even just pushing the milk back, or
Oh,
you
sure,
like 4
yeah.
different bits where I'm like, if everyone started doing this, society might break down.
That's another example of that. I'd be like, yeah, have you ever noticed milk on that shelf? And that you could push it off and it would disappear. Yeah, that's yeah. Seriously, never done it. I would feel horrible.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
very
Right.
empathetic, and so it doesn't make sense that I'm sharing these.
Maybe grocery stores should hire you. Just worst case scenario planning.
Like when they free some, like a jewel thief from prison,
Right.
so that they can help strengthen security systems.
So be a
Here's what I
safe
would
cracker
do.
for the safe cracker company
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
safe company. Yeah.
Here's what I would do.
You're behind all the dairy products. You need pillows down here when the milk comes.
Yeah, you walk into the grocery store and you're like,
When the milk
he's
becomes
working.
flying back.
He's working. Look at him.
You need little handcuffs for people in their carts so they can handcuff it to themselves so nobody else is stealing it. Whatever you can do it's going to happen a lot. That's funny.
That's great. Another place I've seen you, and this kind of relates to what we're talking about, is the Chosen ads where you play the devil.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah.
Do you think that mischievous persona that you have on stage with this stuff led you into that role?
Sure. I mean, yeah.
And we can show a brief little clip of that. just so
Sure.
people know
I
what
mean,
we're talking about.
I don't know if it was Dallas Jenkins' idea, creator of The Chosen, but he sort of discovered me on Dry Bar, and I was in contact with him for a bit, and yeah, he definitely mentioned that to me that I fit, which I don't know if that's a compliment.
I have a perfect role for you.
Yeah, you find that you're typecast for the worst person in history. Yeah. But I had some fun doing those ad campaigns for a little bit there. I also did Punch Up on the Chosen. That was when I first met Dallas. He knew me from my
really?
stand-up, and he asked me, it was before The Chosen was anything, before they had even cast it. It was just 4 scripts of 4 episodes, and he said, could you take a look at this Jesus TV show and add some jokes? And I was like, yeah.
Oh, dream job.
Sounds easy.
That's hilarious.
Was that fun or was it stressful?
No,
trying
it was,
to
it was
find the
actually
line?
it was actually a fun challenge, and they didn't use a lot of my stuff, and he didn't hire me back. But he was nice about it afterwards, because he said that, and maybe this was just a really nice way of saying no. He said that to them, a few of my jokes opened a door as to what they could do with the show, because there is levity in that show that you don't see in any other sort of Jesus Sunday school,
Right.
Bible videos that you grew up with. And have you guys watched the show, The Chosen?
I've seen some of it, yeah.
So in the first episode, the crazy thing is, as the devil, during that devil ad campaign, Dallas wanted me to roast the entire first episode, like Mystery Science Theater 3000. And he's like, really push it. And I was like, I don't think you know what push it means for me. So I'll hold back a little bit. So we do it. I think I did it. I may have done a live stream of it as a devil. I roast the whole thing. And at one point, I make fun of, I think it's Simon he's in a fist fight, and he says to the guy he's fighting, he says something like, they call me wine hands because I'm going to destroy your liver. And as the devil doing this ad campaign, I was like, what kind of a modern day joke did they slip it? Like they knew what alcohol did or what a liver was.
All right.
And then someone reminded me afterwards, I wrote that joke.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So you were roasting yourself.
Wow. Whoa.
There weren't any peer-reviewed studies on livers back then.
That's a weird out-of-body experience to have.
Oh, yeah.
You never heckled yourself before. That's amazing.
I hear in the new season that I think Luke lip syncs your bike lock joke.
Oh, man.
Gets a big laugh. That's funny.
That's great.
You look I liked all the makeup they did on you, the horns and stuff. You looked the part.
Yeah, that was a good time. It was also kind of sad because it was an amazing, handsome, realistic wig that I got to put on, and I was like, oh, this is what I could look like.
If you were evil, yeah, that could be your future. Sell your soul. That's where you are. Well, that's great. So I want to hear a little bit about your background in comedy, where you started, and how you found your way on stage for the first time.
That's none of your business.
Yeah, and that's actually, we can move on.
The podcast just ends. Dee. Yeah, where I started in comedy.
Yeah, how to get going? Because you are a meticulous joke writer.
Sure. Yeah.
And like you said, you really like sitting down and looking at the jokes and finding just the small things you can turn to make it funnier. So yeah, tell us about what inspired you to start comedy. Who some of your guys were that you watched?
Sure. Yeah. The first person who stuck out to me. So I grew up with like Bill Cosby cassette tapes and like Steve Martin. The classic things that we grew up with before we knew that anyone was a villain.
Right.
But it was like Cosby and I forget the other one. May have been. You can edit out this dead air. It actually may have just been Cosby, and I actually never thought that he was that funny. I'm not just saying that to sound cool.
Oh, you knew before.
Yeah.
You said something was off about him. That's great.
But that's what I knew as stand-up comedy. And then when I was 12 or 13, I had a friend give me a pirated cassette tape of a Stephen Wright album.
Oh, okay.
He's only done 2 albums. The first one is called I Have a Pony. And then he released the second one 20 years later called I Still Have a Pony.
That's incredible.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
So he's this great one-liner comic, and it just blew my mind. Like, I had no idea that comedy could be this thing. And so that's what got me really excited about it. That's what sparked it for me. Like, I knew at that point that I wanted to try it at some point. I wish that I had the story that so many people have of, like, I heard a Steve Martin record when I was 3, and that's when I knew. I was going to be, that's the story of Robin Williams or whatever,
Yeah.
I always had, I don't know, I've always been maybe insecure. And so that applies to my dreams where I'm just like, one day I'll try it once. That was that was the goal.
Yeah.
And so eventually, long story short, it took me till I was, I think, 22 that I went to my first open mic. And I had one joke hit, the rest bombed. But it was that one joke that propelled me. And I've heard similar stories from a lot of other comics. And I do wonder for people who bomb the first time and never do it again, like if that had happened to me, if I didn't happen to get lucky with one joke. Because your first set ever, that is luck.
Yeah.
If it's an actual open mic with no one that you know, and something actually hits out of the first 5 minutes you've ever written, that's just dumb luck. So luckily, I think that's what propelled me through the next 30 or so mics because, you just bomb and bomb when you start.
I think about it too. My first time went really well, and I was overconfident.
Oh, sure.
And then I bombed the next 4 times. But I think about the same thing. If I
If
would
it
have bombed the
hadn't
first
been,
or bombed
yeah.
3 times, if I tried 3 times, which it's not that uncommon for somebody to bomb 3 times at an open mic. You know?
Yeah.
So
And you probably had the thought that I did of in my subsequent bombings, I was like, I mean, they don't know how good I am because I have this joke.
you should have seen me 2
that
weeks ago,
kills.
right?
Yeah. But I think you sort of need that mix of a lack of self-awareness. You sort of need that delusion when you start. Because if I had been a healthy self-aware, I don't think I ever would have continued. You have this sort of false confidence that is sort of an armor that takes you through what was not objectively a really fun period of my comedy career.
That's a good point. I often tell people when they ask about doing comedy, I'm like, I think there's something a little bit wrong when you're beginning comedy to want to keep doing it even if it's terrible. And what your explanation makes sense. But I'm always telling people, I'm like, because some people are just like the funny guy at work, and it's like, you should go do an open mic, funny guy at work.
That's a
and everyone
different
goes
animal. Yeah.
and they bomb. They're like, well, I'm never doing that again. That was terrible.
Yeah.
But there's something in us that's like, that was terrible, and I just want to get back up and do it again.
Do you remember? And I don't want to pry because I've already pried enough. But
He's a fry guy over here.
your first joke that did well.
Yeah, the first joke that did well was, I said, so dumb. But I think it's just the visual, if anything. I said, I got kicked out of a Halloween party for showing up naked wearing just a red T-shirt. Guess no one had heard of Winnie the Pooh.
That's
See, you
solid.
see the joke coming, it's not a great, but it was good enough. The people picturing me half naked. That's,
What was the act out for that one? What about you, Jordan? What was your
what was
first?
yours?
My first
I mean, well,
joke.
you had a full set that
that
killed.
hit. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing was pretty top notch. I've honestly never topped it from the beginning.
You've been chasing that high.
No, I had a whole joke about. There's still a line I use in one of my jokes that I did my very
Whoa.
first time, and I've made it better. But I did a joke. It's so silly recapping it about that the Earth is getting closer and closer to the sun, and that redheads need to be more like I heard people saying it. The Earth's getting closer, and so I did some research to find out it's not actually getting it's always kind of moving back and forth. And in the article it said nobody needs to stress, everyone will be fine. But then I noticed there was an asterisk next to everyone, and I went down to the bottom of the page, and I said everyone will be fine except redheads. They will disintegrate into a pile of cinnamon sugar. That's so the only thing I use. I will sometimes say I can't be outside too long, or else I'll disintegrate into a pile of cinnamon sugar. That's the reason people equate redheads with cinnamon sugar. It's pretty abstract. After seeing your two responses, I'm going to burn it.
No, I love that connection.
sure.
Cinnamon sugar.
It was just in the shadow of the Winnie Pooh joke. It fell flat.
It was such a long, looking back, I'm like, that's such a long explanation to get to this one joke, but that's,
Oh, yeah.
that's what you learn.
Something that's really helped me. I've never been like a huge fan. I'm a fan of Jerry Seinfeld in the sense of like his work ethic and his joke structure. I find when I listen to him or watch him, I never like laugh out loud. I just sort of appreciate what's happening.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be good in his audience. He is sort of a comedy guru. He knows what he's doing. But something that really tightened my joke writing was reading his book. He has a book called "Is This Anything?"
I've heard that's really good.
I have that. Yeah, I have that book.
And so it was just seeing this concrete image of every joke is like one line or two. That's how much space it takes up before the punchline. And then the next one is two lines, and the next one, and just seeing
They look like
even a full
poems.
bit. Even a full bit is essentially made up of one-liners, and I was like, how have I not approached it this way? Like, it really does help. I would say, even if you work out all of your material on stage, it helps so much to write it all out and see, oh yeah, this could be this. It sort of holds you to this, or to me, like this new standard of like, this is how
Right.
concise I could be. Yeah, because for sure, I have a joke. It was one of my favorite jokes, but it takes 40 seconds to get to the punchline.
Yeah.
It was I had this joke about how the map of the United States. I could probably tell it in 5 seconds. The idea is the map of the United States looks like someone was given a job to divide this space up into 50 sections, and they were way too confident about the space up front. Like, that was the idea. But I made it, for some reason, into this long story of, like, so this guy, he gets this assignment. His boss says, there's this, I want you to fill in the outline of the country. You have to use a pen, 50 states. Start from left to right. And then the guy says, oh yeah, there's plenty of room. So that was the big punchline. Oh yeah, there's plenty of room. And then working out in your head, oh yeah, it gets smaller to the
Right.
end. But that's one that I look back on, and I was so proud of it for so long. But even though, like, it gets to a point of diminishing returns where no matter how great that punchline is, if you've now gone like a full minute without a laugh,
Yeah.
it's like you've bombed 3 jokes in a row and then told a good one. Yeah.
And the expectation builds for this final joke.
Absolutely. It had better be worth it.
That's amazing. I feel like that's kind of an expectation with like classic jokes that like a grandpa might tell, or
Yeah.
or like you tell like around a campfire where there's a huge setup. Like a man comes home to his wife, and his wife
Sure.
is curling her hair, and then all these
Keep telling the
extraneous details. And
What else do women do?
I was curling her hair, and the husband says, "You've been curling your hair ever since I left for work this morning." And she says, "Well, I'm dressed like Winnie the Pooh." And that's,
You do improv,
But yeah, and
you
those
do
are like
improv comedy,
meant to
right?
be sort of disappointing at the end. Yeah.
yeah.
I will say you did that because I watched your special this morning. You do that outline joke on there, but it gets a big laugh.
Oh, I forgot that it was on that. Yeah. But man, if I was going to go back, I could probably re-edit just the footage and keep the funny and have it be half as long. Yeah.
No, it's funny because I like that joke though because you see the audience realizing in your head because you never explicitly say why it looks like this. You say
Right.
it does, and then they're visualizing it.
And that's another thing that I love too. And I'm not shooting my own horn, but it's a type of comedy that I love. It's hard to actually like get to it on purpose, but I love when I discover a joke that accomplishes it. That like at Pixar they call it never say 4, say 2 + 2, because it's reward instead of being on the nose about something. There's like an extra reward to a joke if the punchline is also something that the audience has to solve, take a second to solve, because it's almost this like euphoria of I figured it out, like with the along with the laughing. And aside from that, to me, it's just funnier than saying, doesn't it look like he didn't have a lot of room and he thought he did, but then in the end he didn't. That's what the United States is, just like but to just stop it. I have another joke where I say it's about a Roomba and the idea that there are square like rivals to the Roomba, and because it did happen in a Costco where a guy he was trying to sell him the square ones, and I said I have a Roomba as I was walking by, just trying not to engage, and then he said, "Does it get the corners?" And so then I stopped and I looked down. I was just so angry that he got me with this line of "Does it get the corners?" And so it's this square one, and so in the joke I talk about how that process must have been, or the insane idea that they thought more people are going to buy this because it's square. Because none of us cared. No one was complaining about the fact that it's a circle. No one was like, it doesn't get the corners. Call me back when it's a rhombus. And then the end of the joke I said, which I actually said to the guy, which is like, I'm never confrontational in public. And this is one of the few times where I've like came up with the thing in public. For some reason it's easier on stage, but I'm very introverted. So with people in public, I'm just like everyone else. I think of the thing I should have said at night. But that day, after he said, "Does he get the corners?" I said, "I live in a lighthouse."
That's incredible.
And I was so proud of that. I tell so few like stories on stage, but I told that one. But I love that joke because it doesn't get an explosive laugh. Sometimes it's like half the audience and then it sort of builds. But I see people turning and going, "'Cause it's a circle."
Yeah.
But for me, I enjoy that. Even if it doesn't get a huge laugh, at least I'm trying to implement this thing of like not spelling it out,
Right. Because the 4 would be like the opposite of 2 + 2 would be like I live in a house that's a circle.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then people would be like, "Oh,
I
nah."
see. And
yeah.
Got me, sir.
I live in a circle.
Geometry. Okay. All right. But Lighthouse. Also, what I love about that is it also brings to me the vision of you living in a lighthouse, which is a hilarious idea on its own.
It seems fitting for you, actually.
It seems fitting for you. What are you talking about? Yeah.
I don't know.
Do redheads live in lighthouses?
Because you have like a,
I guess that's true.
fisherman
Oh,
look to
that's
you,
true.
Yeah.
I can just picture you staring out of the lighthouse,
Maybe a house with
keeping an eye on it. Lighthouses are perfect for observational comedy.
And Jordan, for you, I'm picturing a pretty dark house that you live in.
Yeah.
You're not exposed to a lot of light,
No.
I imagine.
Underground.
I'm the guy. You're my boss. I'm the guy that has to go and light the thing.
All right.
I'll be down
you're the
here.
sailor coming in from the sea, and he's... Yeah.
Should we remake the movie The Lighthouse, but I play... All right. I forget Well, I'll be Willem Dafoe, and you'll be...
Mermaid.
I don't know if you ever saw that insane movie.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
That's funny. Do you have... Because you're talking about, like, how many laughs... How much space you can get before a laugh? Do you actively look like I need a laugh every 20 seconds or something? Or what's kind of your goal when you're writing it?
I've never been that deliberate. I've heard about comics that are, and
Yeah.
to me, I think I've never wanted to be super formulaic about it. But it's more just the idea that I read in a writing book. It may have been On Writing by Stephen King. That he, when you hear the word concise, like we first think short. But concise, actually, the definition of concise means the shortest version. Mm-hmm. So it means it could be a longer thing, but it's still it's trimming all of the fat. Yeah. So rather than going for like jokes per minute, which I still objectively think is important.
Right.
But the way I go after it is... every tag it's just got to be as short as it can possibly be, and if I can't figure out a way to not make it wordy, then I cut it. So that's more the goal, is to make everything just so that the laughter is like waves, so that you're starting the next joke as one stop. Chad Daniels to me is one of the greatest, most joke dense comics,
right?
And you listen to his pattern, and again, not something to try and emulate, because I think it's weird to reverse engineer someone else's work, but he's someone that I admire for his skill in doing that. And honestly, Dave Chappelle is the opposite. He can be so long-winded. I love some of the ideas he discusses.
Right.
I love his energy. But boy, talking about, I do think he charms his way out of a lot of jokes, like in a good way. But he remains compelling just because of his presence.
He's a great storyteller.
Yes.
But it's right. Sometimes it's an entire story to get to one punchline.
Exactly. It can take so long to get there. And it's not always as brilliant as drawing the United States with a pen. They're not all home runs with Chappelle. You heard it here.
He's our next
Chappelle,
guest.
yeah.
He's actually waiting outside to come right in for our next.
Yeah, we've got a 3-hour podcast. For Chappelle.
we booked out the rest of the evening. I will say it's interesting that you're not as saying you're not as quick-witted in person, because your first special, there's a lot of it that's you responding to audience stuff that's super funny.
Thanks,
a big chunk when you're talking about weird high school mascots and stuff. I was really impressed with it, because it's so fun when that happens on stage, when you have a quick response. And it's awful when you wish you did. I was very impressed that you did it on that special. It was good.
Well, I enjoy that. That's something I love about comedy. For me, that it keeps me present. So I really enjoy riffing, and I enjoy not just crowd work, but asking questions that will supply unique answers, because I also think the audiences aren't dumb, and I have a hard time with crowd work that you see that is so obviously contrived, because the comedian knows they're going to get an answer back. Mm-hmm. And so that's why with the high school mascots thing I used to do, I would ask that, because ultimately you do get bears and wildcats and all of those things. And I think that if I had a joke out of the gate for bears and eagles and panthers, right, and most of the crowd would be like, well, yeah, I'm sure you always hear these, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so that's what I enjoy about it, is I had no idea. I wouldn't have been able to predict that I would hear stuff like beat diggers.
Oh, yeah.
And the audience as well would not know. But even then, you still get people in the comments who will not leave it alone. People in the again, I don't read them anymore because I have been so hurt. But in the comments for that one, because that clip did pretty well as well. People in the comments, some people would say stuff like, comedians plant people in the audience all the time. Like, they do? Like, I've been doing this for almost 20 years. I haven't met a single comic who has ever done that, you know?
That's
and the
amazing.
fact that, so I planted like 14 of them in this. All right, so, you know the cue.
The most expensive traveling act. Like, what?
That's my entourage.
These poor guys.
I got
Doesn't
They do
matter.
my social
I got a
media.
Wildcats guy. I got a Beat Diggers guy.
I will say, because you say you don't like act outs either. Your act out for this, because somebody said syrup makers in the, and you did a fantastic syrup making guy standing there.
That was a lucky mime that I did not know if it would work or not.
It's
Never
really good.
done that
Killed me.
before.
That
Hammering a tree, hooking up a bucket. Yeah.
Just standing there.
No, that like premise or question about high school mascots is funny on its own.
Sure.
Rather than asking people like what your occupation is or something,
Yeah.
everybody knows weird high school mascots. So I think it's a great,
Yeah, that's funny.
great
Yeah,
lead-in.
it was a great ride. I did that for 3 or 4 years, and I got one of the greatest ones. Honestly, I didn't like it when I got like a really funny one because then I couldn't really do anything with it. I liked the ones that were sort of mundane, like the what was another one, like the russets,
Russet, yeah.
which was
Right.
like I didn't know. Someone yelled out, "It's a potato," and I like dealing with that.
Yeah.
But the best one that I didn't even need a joke for was this woman came from the high school. Their mascot, it was plural. It was the Supermen. And she was on the softball team, and the softball team was the Lady Superman.
Is there only another way we could make this more concise?
How do you imagine that? Just a room of like 11 male, school advisors. How do we do this? The hyphen.
That's
Yes.
so funny. Lady Superman. That's incredible.
Jeez, where is that? Do you know where that school is?
I
Let me
don't.
look
Yeah,
it
I'd
up.
have to look it up.
I wonder
I'm sure
if-
they've changed it at this point.
Yeah,
right.
Because there are other people like I got every once in a while the blue midgets or the green midgets, and for sure those have been changed.
Can't
at
have
this
those
point.
anymore.
Yeah.
That's wild. I mean, the Superman thing is copyright infringement on top of everything. So it's like,
I wonder if
even
that's
allowed?
why it was plural. Like we can do it if it's an E instead of an A.
Oh,
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
interesting. That's funny. Going back to your dry bar, because you recorded like the first season of Dry Bar, right? Is that when you did
Yeah,
this
I was
bit?
like the 5th or 6th person to do it.
Wow, that's wild. Did you have a sense, like, how was your experience doing it? Did you know how big this was going to be, or was it all just...
I was the only one who knew.
That's what I thought.
I was
I can see that glint in your eye.
confident
on stage,
that
yeah.
one day. No, yeah, I have the same story of a lot of other people. Of like, it seemed like a great offer to get paid to shoot the best quality video that I would ever have access to up to that point. And so yeah, it seemed like a win-win because also, I mean, here's the truth, Jeffrey Harmon. I loved the offer, but it also seemed like a win-win to me because if this whole idea tanked and the website died 2 months in, at least I still got a tape out of it. That's
great tape.
honestly how I felt about it. But then luckily, it blew up in a way that I never would have predicted, and helped out.
Did you do late night stuff before Dry Bar, or was that after Dry Bar, or was that connected at all?
It was actually in parallel with
Oh,
it.
really?
It was a good year. But I want to say I might have even submitted the raw Dry Bar footage before they had even put a special out. I think it was that footage that I sent to all the late nights, and Conan picked it up. Yeah,
That's cool.
So that was.
How was that experience doing? Conan's like my favorite guy.
It was amazing. It was everything that you think it's going to be. Yeah, I had a wonderful time, and not a great time on a couple of other late night shows, but that one was.
Did you call anybody
and
out?
It was great.
To the camera?
Kimmel. But Conan, no, Jimmy Kimmel was actually wonderful, but the show is set up in a terrible way. Just not really friendly to comics, and the way the sound is mixed, and it sounds like an excuse. I can only explain it to other comics where it's not an excuse, because I'll talk about 100 other times that I bombed, but I didn't bomb on the show. I didn't bomb at the taping on Kimmel. But the way that they mix the sound is the audience is so much quieter. I noticed it on the Tonight Show too. They still do it. And it's more of like the sound guy just has never done comedy. I think that's what it is. And well, we got to really hear the comedian. That's what's important, is the comedian's voice rather than the sound. It actually happened on the first cut of Dry Bar that I got, the first edit that I got. It was a note that I gave. So I think it's just a natural thing if you've never done comedy to just pull the audience back, because it sounds like this other thing, and it's like, no, we're all one in this, and it's okay if you don't quite understand the first word of my next setup, because that laughter is what gives it this force. And honestly, like watching it on a tiny screen, you have to have more help in a way, that energy. And so Kimmel, if you watch it, and this is how I can prove that I did well on this show, if you watch it, which I don't recommend, if you watch it, the jokes, every joke got laughs. But you know how, like I was saying earlier, the when you pace it out, you wait till the laughs die, but you don't wait till they die completely.
Mm-hmm. Right. You want to keep it rolling.
You start the next joke as it's going, and you just sort of, it's this pacing that the audience doesn't know it when it's going right, but they will when it's going wrong. So when you watch it, because the audience is so low, it then just looks at, like, after every joke, I'm waiting, like, anyone else? Anyone else gonna laugh? Okay, here's the next one. Like, that's how it feels, and so it's so painful to watch. I only watched half of it once. I've never watched the whole thing.
Rough stuff. Well, actually, we got it.
No.
Right here.
Well,
and that was. What's that?
Oh, no, go ahead.
That was actually when I stopped reading comments, because people were so horrible about it. This guy's bombing. This guy sucks. One guy actually said, "Avoid this comedian at all costs."
Oh man.
At all costs? Like, what's happening in this guy's life?
Drop everything.
Yeah.
So leave your family.
Work at Baskin Robbins.
You were asking about Conan. So in a nutshell, I had a great time, and it was so surreal and beautiful to be on the other side of that curtain. Well, it was like a panel at the time, and to hear Conan say what I'd heard 100 times.
So cool.
Please welcome to making his late night debut, and then my name plugged into that.
Yeah.
That was the most incredible moment. And I went out there, and I wasn't as nervous as I thought I was going to be. I was scared like the week before, but once I got out there, told the first joke, it's like, you hear that it's like that, and it really is. Once the first joke lands, it just felt like a show to these people in this room.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. And after that, it's so foggy to me, because he came up to me, probably the most starstruck I've ever been. Like, as a comic, you start working with comedians pretty quickly, like bigger people, but this is the guy who has comedians on his show, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I looked up to him since I was like 9 years old, so for him to like tower over to me and shake my hand with his giant hands, and yeah, it was amazing. And then also that night, I was scared that, I don't know what the odds are, I was scared that Leonardo DiCaprio was going to be there, because I had a joke about him in The Revenant.
You do that one in your prefer special too.
Yeah, about essentially, like, people say, like, greatest actor of all time. Can you believe he did that? Like, I don't disagree with the actor part, but yes, I can believe he did it for $20 million. I would do all of that. So that was the joke. So, but what ended up happening is that Aaron Paul was on the show, and he is the only person that people have said that I resemble.
Yeah, I can see that.
And so I didn't want it to then, when I was there, to seem like, is this some weird joke? Because he left. Like, guests never leave on that show. They stay on the couches, right? That's what Conan does. One guest comes on, the next guest comes on, the next guest, and then pretty soon everyone is there on the couches together. Well, he had to leave because his wife is pregnant, and she was like, due. And so he left. So I didn't want it to look like he leaves the show, and then some bizarre lookalike comes around the corner, like, here's some jokes, you know, like, is this a Conan sketch? Because it sounds like a Conan sketch.
You're dressed
you know?
like Jesse Pinkman with the beanie and stuff to come out.
Yo, Conan.
But an amazing moment happened before I went, like 10 minutes before I was called out to the stage, because he was on and then having to leave. He walked by the green room door, which was open, and he just sort of leans in and he goes, "Hey, good luck, man." And I feel like, I don't know if he did, I feel like both of us looked at each other for longer than we should have. And then he left.
That's amazing.
When you see your doppelganger, it's a harrowing experience, actually.
Yeah, I mean, when you ran into Philip Seymour Hoffman, I remember that was like a credit to Josh Novy for that.
Yeah.
For that one.
I really got that in high school. That's not a great one for a high school kid to get.
Credit to high school
He
bowling,
looked like
I guess,
Philip
number
Seymour
one.
Hoffman, but Josh Novy said.
Or
that
what
one.
about when you stepped in an elevator with Mr. Beast? How did that work out?
I used to get Harry Styles,
Oh,
and now I'm missed. And now I'm
no, I can see
Mr.
that. I can
Beast.
see it.
No, I think they actually said your hair needs styling. That's what they're saying. If you see this,
To be honest,
And I'm too hairy. I see what you did.
to be honest, Mr. Beast, he looks like if you let yourself go. It is a compliment.
Yeah. I'm the only one who needs an attractive doppelganger. Well, we're super excited to both have you on the podcast and have you recording another special tonight.
I am. Yeah. Can I plug my podcast? I have a podcast.
Oh,
yeah,
for
I was
sure,
gonna ask
for
if
sure.
anything you
And
wanna plug.
if you guys could plug it at the beginning, that actually helps a lot too. If you
Okay.
want to
Yeah.
do that in the edit.
Yeah.
It's called The Book Pile. It's a comedy podcast. I always have to say that when I say it's about books. Like, wait, stay awake.
Book.
It's a comedy podcast about books, and it's me and Dave Vance. He's a brilliant writer. I wrote on Studio C for people familiar with that, but he also reads 150 books a year. And I read less than that. But every Monday we come out with another book, and sometimes we roast books. We've roasted the Twilight series, the Da Vinci Code, and recently, probably my favorite episode we've ever done, we roasted the novelization of the movie Transformers. And it's
amazing.
even worse than you think it is going to be. Yeah, it is fantastic.
How many words is that book? Is
So-
that, is that like triple spaced or something?
A lot of it is.
A lot of onomatopoeias in that one.
But yeah, check it out. The Book Pile. It's worth it. Yeah.
That sounds amazing. Any other upcoming shows or anything else you want to plug before we get out of here?
KellenErskine.com is where my dates are. But yeah, super excited about this set that I'm doing tonight. Particularly a little thing I'm doing at the end that I don't think has been done on any of these. Nothing crazy, no props. But yeah, just a little teaser, so you'll watch it. But it's a real thing too. It's not like
Can you tell us off air?
Yeah.
Okay. I need to know now.
And I will be doing more. I have new crowd work with new questions, so I'm excited about
that's awesome.
whatever is going to happen tonight. Yeah.
Hey, that's exciting.
Beautiful.
Very
Beautiful.
cool.
Or if you just do the mascot stuff again and see what new mascots.
Just another mascot special.
Oh, can you imagine how deflating that would be for so many people if I just sort of repeated the same? Syrup makers?
Yeah.
That's crazy. What would a syrup maker?
That guy in the comments that called you out for having plants. I
See?
knew
I
it.
told you to
He admitted
avoid
it.
him at all costs. Well, thank you so much for coming
you
on
guys.
Yeah,
the
this was
Driver
super
Comedy
fun.
Podcast.
Very cool. We're signing off.
I think this is it.
Okay.
Beautiful. Hey, make
did
sure to
it.
check out drybarcomedy.com for merch and upcoming shows and the latest specials. Kellen's will be out sometime soon. Ooh.
Just in time for Christmas.
Yes.
Just in time for New Year's. Just in time for Valentine's Day. However that works
That's
out.
great. Yeah, we'll use,
do that from now on.
whichever cut that works for.
That's great. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you next time.